let this roll as everyone finds a seat. It takes just about 5 minutes. I'm not going to talk, so you just watch this. I'm out of here. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to go on the blog. I'll see you guys in 45.
Go ahead.
Yeah, unless you want to carry something that doesn't roll.
Dad, you want to go sit up there?
You all right, Josh?
I'm leaving. Take the gift. I'm leaving. No, you're not.
Under the footsteps of a world that broke the darkest night. Beautiful heart and opening eyes. I see the headlights turn into sunrise. We're very alone to hear the deep hurt. We will step up.
Just to try to tie into, this is the only thing I'm going to read this whole 45 minutes, but just to tie into what Bill was saying this morning about a ministry and about reaching out to other men or people in the community. The way I look at it is, and I am like Scott knows, I'm like baby Christian. I was here 2 weeks ago as a student, just trying to learn and absorb this, and I brought my oldest son. I'm working on that part of my Oola, to try to just learn more, be more, represent better. And the way I like to minister is just by example. And the one thing that resonated with me with what Bill said is how to just show what it looks like to be a good Christian man. Not just Sunday, but every day. And if it's taking out the garbage, bringing your son to man camp, going out to dinner, how do you treat the waiter and the waitress on a flight? I mean, just be Christian in every aspect of your life, and then people will look at you and go, what do you got, man? What's your secret? And then you can open the conversation. But that being said, I'm going to just read an excerpt from the foreword. Kurt Warner, we're lucky enough to get, you guys are football guys, Kurt Warner, an Arizona guy. He read the book, loved the book, and was gracious enough to write a foreword. And I like what he says in part of his foreword. He said, for me, the true heart of this book revolves around the question, what is my hub? For some, it's money. Others, it's career. For others, it's family. For me, the answer is clear. My hub is my faith in God, and more specifically, Jesus. I firmly believe the only way for me to have balance in all 7 key areas of life, to experience Oola, is to allow the characteristics of Jesus to be my guide. By carrying over these godly characteristics to each of the 7 key areas of my life, I have the answer to my equation for my Oola life. So let's talk about this thing called Oola. Up until this morning, you guys probably never heard of that. And if I could exit out of this, that would be amazing. Let's try that, all right? Firstly, I'm Troy Onville, the one on the right. I wrote this book with Dr. Dave Braun, who's not here today, but just an amazing guy. And this isn't just a guy thing. We look at our wives, the women we care about, students, anybody. I remember as a kid going to the circus and seeing that guy who had a table with a bunch of plates. And then he'd come out and have these white poles. And for the sake of this discussion, let's just say there are 7 of them. And you grab a plate, spin it. You know, just like a basketball player says, NBA guys kind of spin that ball, we'll try to spin that ball. Grabs the plate, spins it. Plate number 2, spins it. We're on 3, spins it. Just rocking it out. 4, spins it. Now it gets interesting. Because this first plate, it just starts kind of like, so the guy's looking. Do I grab a new one, put it on plate 5, or pole 5? Do I come back and tap that one to keep it going? And we are entertained the rest of the show, watching this guy run frantically from plate to plate, trying not to let them hit the floor. The reality is, you and I and everyone I know, in this culture today, we're spinning plates. We're trying to bring home a paycheck. We're trying to get out of debt. We're trying to save for college. We're trying to get in shape. We're trying to eat better. We're trying to be a spiritual leader of our family. That's why you're here. It makes me sad. I mean, in a good way, like to see these guys who are just trying to be better men. You want to have fun, man. I mean, I like playing golf. I like hanging out with my buddies. I want to be a better husband. We're doing this all the time. You and I, every day, are spinning these plates, just praying and hoping they don't hit the floor. And it's a challenge. I'm going to go into a little backstory about how this all started, how this book developed, this whole concept, everything. Way back when, 1992, I was starting a business. It was going really well. I had people working with me and for me. I developed a group of battle buddies, like I'm sure you guys have here at your cabins, at your church. And not the kind of friends that tell you how awesome you are all the time. The ones that say, man, you're losing your hair, your boobs are starting to shake, spend more time with your wife, you know, pick that thing out of your nose. I mean, those kind of good friends, those battle buddies that are with you. And we would meet once a year in Vegas, of course, I'm cool. And we would meet, and I remember I brought Dave, that co-author of this book, the first year, and he'd never been on an airplane. He's like, I'm in Vegas. I picked him up at the airport. We went right to work on our goals. And what we would do is we would break our life down into 7 areas, because otherwise you're just feeling stressed and you don't know why. You don't even know where to start. It just feels overwhelming. So we would break it down into 7 areas. And we'll talk about that a little bit. And then we'd say, okay, I'm pretty good here. I'm weak here. And you get some feedback from your buddies, and they'd say, no, you're actually weak here. You should spend more time here. And then we would keep each other accountable on the phone, and we meet in the summer, too. Just as a group of people who would just aspire to do better and be better. Because part of this Oola is not just balancing your life, it's growing your life. Don't just balance, because you're balancing, it's like, oh, I'm equally in debt, as unhappy in marriage, as out of shape. I mean, you're balanced, but that sucks. So, you've got to not just balance, but you've got to grow. You've got to wake up every day wanting to be better and do better. For yourself, for a transcendent cause like God's child, someone's, you know, he gave me all these gifts, let's do it. So you wake up every day doing this. These guys believe that principle and practice it. Time goes on, you know, everyone kind of goes their own way. We kind of met less and less. I get the occasional Christmas card, and, you know, the families look beautiful on a Christmas card or a Facebook post. I mean, everyone looks happy. I got a call, I remember it vividly, about 3.5 years ago, from one of my closest members in this group. And, you know, hey, what's up? He's always positive, always up. He's like, I'm at a motel, not a hotel, a motel, not a nice motel. The cops just broke into the door next to me for some drug bust. Most people rent these rooms by the hour. You know, I drive my mom's crappy Taurus. Now we're talking about a guy that a year, not even a year, 3 months earlier, built $1 million home in the mountains, married to his high school sweetheart, 5 beautiful kids, perfect shape. I mean, he was Oola. He was Oola. And I'm like, what happened? You know? I remember telling him vividly, you know, the good news is you're at the bottom, brother. I mean, everything he told me, it was ugly. Lost his business, IRS case. I mean, it was bad. And what we figured out, I as a friend, I said, let's go back to those same principles, and we'll talk about them. What's at your core? How are your 7 areas? You know, you got prideful, you know, things that happen with success sometimes. Then he got humble. And then he got it back. And he put those principles back in place, and he's doing great today. He's not back, he's on his way back. And using these principles, he then approached me, who I played the part, by the way, if you guys read this book, I hope you do, but it's true stories. But I played the part of Oola Guru, and he plays the part of Oola Seeker, because he's seeking, and and the reality is, if you read the book, I don't have the answers. I had more answers than he did at that time, so therefore I was the guru, and I've had my own share of challenges, but that's how we set up this story. So he looked to me as the guru, and we said, we have to tell this story to help other people whose life gets out of balance, they lose track of purpose. We drew this little graphic. The one on the left is exactly how I thought coming up, in the world. I mean, every year it's going to be bigger and better. I'm going to be, better in my marriage, better in better shape, and have more money, and stronger spiritual leader, and all of you, more friends. The reality is life. If there's anybody in this room older than 12, who hasn't experienced the graph on the right, it's coming. I'd love to protect you from that. So you have to have a skill set of how to deal with that. We're going to break this whole thing down, 246-page book, a 7-week curriculum, 30 more minutes. So we're going to roll through some stuff. There are 7 areas in your life that pretty much everything that I can think of fits into. And we call these the 7 F's of Oola. These are the 7 areas you need to balance and grow if you want the life of your dreams. Let's rattle them out. Faith, absolutely. Finance. No fear. Cheating.
Family.
Yep. Fun. Friends. Fitness. Who said fitness?
Freedom.
Man, that's for your hub, man. We'll talk about that later. Food's fun for me. But, freedom. That's into your hub too. We'll get into that too. The hard one is there's 6 of them. There's seven of them. The hard one was career, which is a thesaurus helped me out one night because I can't have 6 F's of Oola and a C. That's kind of boring. So we had 7 F's of Oola, and I field. So field is your career. If you're a stay-at-home parent, God bless you. I couldn't do it. That's your vocation. If you're a student, I see some students in the room. That's your field. So just to break it down a little bit, there is fitness, which is everything, nutrition, exercise, anything that helps your health. We have finance, which is personal finance. We have family, and we have field, faith, friends, and fun. Those are your 7 F's of Oola. And as you look at those, and you really want to make an exercise of this, in the book there's a thing you can actually write down, and on the website you can actually take a test and all this cool stuff to see your score. But I know when I look at this, I see areas that I could use some work. If we look at fitness, could we be in better shape? And sometimes you have to look beyond yourself, like for my kids, or for my faith, or for my job even. And just kind of find a cause. And if you look at those, try to identify areas that you're doing well. Put it this way. Let's look at it this way. If you have 6-pack abs and 6% body fat, but you need someone to drive you to the gym because you can't afford a car, you could probably ease off fitness a little bit. maybe go to field and kind of finance and kind of work that one. And I'm telling you, it happens. Or, you wouldn't believe the stories out here. Or if you are in finance and you've got, homes all over the world, and you've got, but man, you need help walking through the door, you got like 2 seats on the airplane. This is real stuff, man. And it's time to like, okay, you know, your spreadsheet looks good. Let's move it over. So everyone, hey, I'm the biggest, like, I'm hardest on me on this stuff because you need to be hard on yourself if you want to improve. And you need a group of battle buddies, a group of Oola buddies that you can get together and just keep this stuff straight. And these don't need to be major steps. They just need to be little steps forward all the time, because pretty soon you'll get there. If you've never been to a gym, you can even buy a membership, drive to the gym, and go, there it is, and go home. Because that's a step in the right direction. The next day you walk in, turn the treadmill on, and go home. And the third day you actually turn the treadmill on, take 4 steps, and go home. But by the end of the year, you're running 3 miles. And that's what we're talking about, Oola, about taking little steps. If you set unrealistic goals, you're just going to feel bad about yourself and disappointed, like every other goal you've set you've never reached. So you have to create a culture of success in order to win. So, let's go back. Oola in general. Cool word, right? I love that word. Better than like 7 habits to a better lifetime. You know, what is Oola? Oola is a life that is balanced and growing in the 7 key areas. And we now know those 7 key areas are the 7 F's of Oola. We use an analogy in the book of a wheel. You've maybe heard this. Just think of a bicycle wheel. At the core is the hub of the wheel. And picture this wheel as 7 spokes coming off it. And those 7 spokes represent the 7 F's of Oola, the 7 key areas of your life. This hub is important. This hub is important. I'm going to go forward and back. This hub is important because if I pull out a spoke, I go through bankruptcy. My finance, I got a 0, man. I mean, someone grabbed that spoke and threw it away. I can still roll. It's a little unstable on that spot, but my life trucks right along. And now let's just say I get divorced. There's my family one, man. That took, if it's not removed, it's a stub for a while. But I still roll. So this question, what is your hub? I love giving this talk to this group because you get it. The point of this book is to draw people to that question. I don't tell people what their hub is. Because if someone told me, I wouldn't listen. I got to come up with one. I'm stubborn. I got to come up with that for myself. And for me, if let's just be transparent here, 20s, my hub was me. Everything I wanted to do, when I wanted to do it. I had time, I had money, I had the ability to convince people, I had that, personality. I could get stuff done. It served me. It was empty, and it was bad. And so I was in Oola trying to say, I got to look better at that. So in my 30s, I go, you know what? I'm going to focus on my career and my fitness. And I ran marathons, got medal after medal, did an Ironman, tried that, hung them up on the wall. My career went crazy, made a lot of money. It was nice, but it didn't work for me. It didn't work for me. In my 40s, I retired at 42 based upon all that, these principles. I retired young, moved down to Arizona just for the sun, like every other snowbird. My 40s, thanks to my wife, who was the spiritual leader when I should have been, I put in faith, man. Put in God. You put God in your hub, which you guys get. I am speaking to the wrong group on this topic. This is a topic we give to the corporate and everything. But you guys get that if you have God in your hub, everything else is possible, probable. And that keeps you grounded. So if someone can take your spokes, rip them all off, and you're just kind of floating along for a while. But if you got your hub, you're going to be okay. If you put your faith in money and you go bankrupt, you're done. You put your fitness in there, and you're a bodybuilder, and stuff gets saggy with time, guaranteed. No matter how much you lift weights, and that's all you got, you're gonna be done. So this is a huge question, which thankfully you guys got the answer to already. The valve. So we're using that same analogy. The hub is what defines you. The 7 spokes are the 7 F's. The valve is what inspires you. What naturally inspires, because everyone's drawn. If we look at those 7 F's, I'm kind of naturally drawn to just career and finance. I wish I wasn't a lot of times. It's just how my brain works. Maybe I'm programmed that way. My wife is clearly family. The most maternal gal I know. She's amazing. I went to kindergarten with her and senior prom. I mean, she's just like perfect that way. Because we balance each other so well. So the key is, if I told my wife, that she's low on finance, if I was just consulting her, I would have to tap into what pumps her up, and that's her valve. I would have to work through family and say, if you have money, you can send the kids to this college you want. If you have money, the kids are going to eat more nutritious food. If you have money, X, Y, all tied to family. And if yours is faith, which a lot of the guys in the room, I know, that's what pumps you up. Your relationship with Jesus, your relationship with God. That's awesome. But now you're like, no money, but think about how this place was built. Someone wrote a check. And think of all the men and women whose lives have been changed by this place. So you may not even like the idea of making more money and not even see it, but just if you can tap into what inspires you and say, if I make more money, maybe I could give more. Maybe I could spread my ministry farther. Spread God's word farther. So that's a tricky one. But I bet if you look at those 7 F's, the guys in the gym, it's like, if I'm in shape, I present better in an interview. I present better in front of a crowd if I want to speak a message. So just tap into what naturally inspires you. All right, we're getting to some good stuff now. We know that there's this thing called Oola, which is this state of awesomeness when your life is balanced and growing in those 7 F's of Oola. We know that you have to define, look at your own life and say, what am I anchored in? What is my hub? And also what inspires me, and tap into what inspires you to pump you up to get life balanced for you. There are 2 things that we run into all the time. Oola blockers and Oola accelerators. Oola blockers is that wall, that challenge, that thing we all face, we can see the life we want, and then we hit the wall. What's some things, some traits, some principles that could block you from the life you dream of and deserve? Rattle some out.
Injury.
Oh, that would do it too. You're excluded from this. You read the book. Procrastination. Yeah. We call it laziness, man. We're not even like sugarcoating it. If you're lazy, but you want more, good luck. It's going to block you. Fear is the biggest one. I don't know where that came from. That's an amazing one. I see so many people fearful of taking a risk of rejection, and it just holds them back from the life they deserve and they dream of and they want so badly because someone criticizes them, or they're afraid of what they think of the 20 things that will happen if it goes wrong, rather than the things that will happen if it goes right. If I quit every time I was fearful, man, I'd be working at a root beer stand in Rochester, Minnesota right now still, because there's a lot of people who told me what I couldn't do. Any other ones?
Fitness. Fitness.
Fitness would be like along the lines, we have discipline. That's actually what we call as an accelerator. Because we'll talk about those are the things that actually, if you're disciplined enough to get to the gym, that'll accelerate you.
If you hurt yourself, then you have to talk.
Yeah, injury for sure. Guilt is a big one.
Complacency.
Complacency, and that's a little along the lines of laziness, but it just like this kind of, it'll happen when it happens. I'll pray about it.
How about short-term vision?
Short-term vision, yeah, never thinking big enough. There's one that I haven't heard yet that it's kind of personal.
I guess it's sport planning.
Yeah, organization. Taking the first step. Taking the first step. All talk, no action. Big head, no cattle. I mean, all the same stuff where you talk a lot, don't do anything. I just run into it all the time, drives me crazy. Because I can see people that clearly could take small steps and make big changes in their life.
How about sin?
Sin is huge. But sin is kind of like how God comes through the hub. Sin can come the other way. In every area, we just have to be, have our armor up in every area. So that's, Pride is huge. Pride was me, man. Pride was my 20s, And when you read this book, again, I'm going to play the part of Oola Guru. I'm going to sound like I have all the answers because I was the guy who retired young and ran the Ironman and traveled to 50-some countries and all that cool stuff. We picked my highlights and we picked Dave's lowlights to show the difference. I had my stuff, and just like everyone in this room, and it's a biggie. That was my prayer to Pearl. This thing's blowing up big with this book, and it's like, just be humble.
How about toys? Toys?
Would that be like buying too much junk?
Distractions, yeah.
Yeah, lack of focus. And focus is kind of an accelerator. But these things flip both ways. That's the whole point of a blocker. If you identify the blocker as fear, And you can flip it into something like, it teaches you to be aggressive and take the risk and take the step. It can turn into an accelerator. There's 2 I haven't heard that I want to talk about. There's 7 in the book. One I just don't understand, so I studied it for the book. Self-sabotage. I don't get it. And I get it because I see it all the time. And someone's like, you know, mile 25.6 on a 26.2 mile marathon, and they've gone done. You know, their goal has been set, they've worked and they've sacrificed, and I don't know if it's an unworthiness. I don't know, but I see it and it just recognize that that's real because it just happens too much. The other one too is jealousy and envy. On a personal note, I've come from the Midwest, very simple beginnings, just very average, you know, middle class family. We had 4 kids in our family, 3 bedrooms, you do the math. My brother, who's 8 years older than me, was stuck with me in the same bedroom. You know, so he was 18, I was 10, can you imagine? In the same bed, which now I think it's beautiful. And we're best friends today, and we obviously could buy the house we want at this stage of our life, but our kids still have, I have 2 boys and 2 girls, and they each have 1 room, just out of principle. Just because I think, you know, he's supposed to hold my head under the covers and rip one. That's what they brothers do. That's just, you gotta experience that. So, yeah, it's true. I mean, you gotta experience. There's lessons learned that you just don't get reading a book.
in the cabin a few minutes ago.
Yeah, absolutely. It's timeless. Any age, it always works. But so let's just set this up a little bit. So my brother's a great guy, and he's cool and love him. He's one of my gurus, one of my mentors. When I was in college, he was a hard worker. He sacrificed. He never went to college. He worked hard. And what happens when someone works hard and is a good worker and has a good heart is a lot of times they'll just move up the chain, right? The material chain. And as I was busting it out in college, and just to paint a verbal picture, I mean, I couldn't have been more out of Oola. I was 40 pounds heavier than I am today. This is in college. I had a mullet. I mean, it was bad, right? And I had a heap of student loan debt, and I didn't know what was going to happen outside of school. I was single. I was faithless. I mean, I was out of Oola. At that time, my brother was crushing it in all 7S. He bought a lake home, which was ridiculous back then. You know, second home where he go spend. He had a beautiful wife and 3 kids. He even got a point. He bought a place on the beach in California. I remember he was 19 years old and bought a new Corvette, man. And if you're 11 and your brother rolls up in a red Corvette off this showroom, you're like, oh. I mean, you're just like, oh. But never once, even with the mullet, even with the 40 pounds, even with the red Corvette, the cool house, the beautiful family, was I jealous or envious. I think people who have that viewpoint look at God's gifts as scarce and not abundant. And I just look at the world differently. I look at that as what's possible. I don't look at that as like, he's got one, he's got mine. So just be careful of that. That's kind of that's a sneaky one. All right, this is more fun. Accelerators. Blockers are the things that can get in your way from the life you want. What can be the wind behind your back? Love. Beautiful. Encouragement. Yeah, which is really in love, because true love encourages persistence. Discipline. We call it book discipline, man. And I'm telling you, that's like taking steps. I heard that earlier. Sometimes you wonder if it's going to work out. You just keep pushing and taking action, taking steps.
Serving others.
Serving others. That applies to me in my Oola life, in my hub. I mean, that's just a godly way of looking at the world in all of my areas.
It's hard work over time.
Yep. And again, that's discipline and persistence.
Education and information.
Yeah, continually learning. I'm going to, I haven't heard one, and maybe I did, but I love gratitude. You know, I just think if you have a spirit of gratitude every day, it just opens up so much more. How about integrity? You know, you want to get rich quick? You better do it with integrity. It doesn't come tumbling down. Obedience. Same, that falls in line with integrity. Oh, passion. Oh, have you ever seen someone on fire? I feel a little on fire today. You know, when you're on fire, it doesn't matter. We have a saying in the book,
that passion trumps fear all day long. If you don't like to speak, but you're passionate, you get up and speak. If you want to, you want to run a marathon, but you don't want to work out, you want to get that medal, you'll do it. You will overcome fear with passion every time. We heard wisdom, and my favorite one in there is humility. That's because I'm working on that. That's the one I gotta watch. Everyone's got their things. They just staying humble. And we say feeling small makes you grow big. Staying, just knowing really where you are in this whole picture of God's plan, keeping you humble will allow you to grow big. And if you're grounded in that, you can grow really big. All right, I do want to save some time for questions, and I got one thing I want to do, but this is actually the take steps part of this plan. And anytime, I don't care if it's, a handshake, or you sign a contract, or you fist bump someone. I mean, when you actually make contact with someone, that's your commitment. And that's where most of these things stop. You guys will listen to this talk, read the book, and go, that's all, I want that. But the book goes on the counter, you don't write it down, and now it's just all warm and fuzzy. It's like a jacuzzi. You get in there and go, that was nice, then you don't go work out or don't do anything else. And you feel good when you're there, and then nothing changes. So this is the part where you actually take a step. And there are 3 simple steps to the Oola life. Step 1. If you guys are making notes, there's a website, oolalife.com, pretty easy. This is all free. You can go there. You can go there. You can go to oolalife.com, and there's a 21 question, real simple. 3 questions on each of the 7 areas. How are you in finance? How are you in fitness? And it'll pop up a score like a FICO score. And it'll show you your wheel, like the red one, then you can color coordinate and say, whatever that red is, I gotta work on it. How would that wheel roll? That thing will flunk around. So you say red and orange, I gotta work on it. Over here you can see feel and faith. It's a really cool website. We're committed to it, and you can actually go on this website and set your goals and do all kinds of things. But definitely go there, and you can do it old school too and just write it down. But if you just check where, it'll give you an honest assessment of where you are now. And this, you should do with a battle buddy. Because I was at my own personal house, built this company and this book and all this kind of cool stuff. I had a friend sitting at the computer, watching him do his form. 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9. No way, dude. I buy dinner every time I go with that guy. Yeah, he's not a 9. So, I mean, we should have like delusional something. Because, I mean, it's out there, so I'm glad he's so optimistic with his life. But this is where it takes that healthy dose of honesty. So the first step is called the Oola wheel, and that's just determining where you are today. Step 2, this is where you dream. You've identified where you're weak, and now you want to just dream. And Dave and I hope someday you can meet Dave too. He's just an amazing guy. He's just come back from just the pits, and just always did with a smile on his face, always worked hard. But we say, set your dreams, write them down, rip them up, dream bigger. Because rarely will your life exceed your dreams. So, dream big, feel free, free thinking. It is possible, all possible through God, you know that. It is possible to picture your 7 F's and set goals in each of the 7 F's on where you want to be. The path, the Oola path. So if the Oola wheel is where you are, the Oola plan is where you want to go, the Oola path are the actual steps. This is, you have to put something you can measure against a timeline. I want to lose 20 pounds in 6 months. You can't say I want to lose weight. I want to pay off 2 credit cards by July 4th. You can't say I want to have less debt. I want to take both sons to band camp to be a better spiritual leader by summer, rather than I just want to be a better spiritual leader in my family. So you just got to put this stuff with a date and a time. And I would strongly recommend an accountability group. The last group we were up here 2 weeks ago, and Scott was nice enough to ask us back. There were a lot of guys setting up like Bible studies. reading the book, going through their 7 F's together, and kind of they're actually going to link all this to Scripture, because you can clearly link what it looks like to be a family man to Scripture. What are some financial, what's some Scripture link to finance? They're going to link it to Scripture, and they're just going to work on this together and keep each other accountable. But without accountability, without writing it down, you're 90% more likely to not do it. But then if you add an accountability group with it, you're even much more likely. Before I close, we're not ready to close yet. I love this picture. It maybe just speaks to me because I just love it, but it focuses. The focus is exactly where it needs to be. If you look at that, there's no name on this stone, nothing on the granite, because unless you're a Kardashian or NFL star or something, your name won't define you. There aren't even years. There aren't even years on this stone. Because that won't, there are people on this planet a long time that made little impact on their own life, those close to them, those they love, those in their community. And there are people here just for a blink who had huge impact on the world. So the years don't matter either. Really, all that matters in our lives is that dash, which we're living right now, today. For sure. So what I want you guys to do, you have a lot of other assignments. I want you guys to get together, and I want you to just ask some honest questions. How am I doing? Where can I improve? How am I living my dash? Yeah, it could be different, but how you live in it doesn't even matter if it's long or short. It just matters how you're living it. The size of the dash doesn't matter. In your family, with your personal health, gone through divorce, out of shape, in debt, lost, disconnected from a group of men who can keep you accountable with your friends, no time for fun, just feeling burnt out. I mean, just be honest and just see how you're living your dash and come up with a plan to change it. I'm going to put, at the close, I want to end with a video because I just love music. Like, I didn't know that crew. I know they're really well known, but music was amazing this morning. I mean, music moves me. And it's probably just me and you're stuck in this room, so I'm going to play some music I like. Because I can. But music moves me. So before I get to that, because I want to end with that, recommendations. It's the easiest. I'm not that intelligent to write a real hard-to-read book. So it's we're getting great feedback on the book. It's super easy to read. A lot of you guys got it and read it on this Saturday afternoon, when you're sitting home, you didn't want to play flag football and blow out a hamstring. It's a super easy. They got them in the bookstore. No shipping, obviously. And we do a $25 book for $20 for man camp always. And it's not a guidebook. Mothers are some of the most. They have so many demands on their life that they could use a little more Oola in their life. So Mother's Day, or the young graduate, my son read it with 19 for it through college, loved it, and living these principles that if we're a little older, you kind of heard them before, but they're repackaged and just in a fun way. Also, design, more importantly, number 3, take some steps. Where are you? What's your little wheel? What's your little score? What's your little plan? What are you going to do about it? Where do you want to go? And the steps you're going to take to actually move forward. This contact information, if you're taking notes, I'm a Twitter addict, big time. So is Dave. I'm Oola Guru. Dave's Oola Seeker, and Life is the Lifestyle. Between us, there's 250,000 followers who just love Twitter. We love Twitter. So if anybody's on Twitter, we'll respond to you. I mean, you send me an email, I probably won't. I don't like email that much. I hate Facebook. But Twitter is awesome. We do have a Facebook site. And the blog, Dave posts a video blog every week because he's getting his Oola back. It's hilarious. He's super funny. Just a little 3-minute video every week of him getting his Oola back. And I write a written blog, try to every week, about how to improve your life. So the blog is cool. There are email addresses if you want to reach